Hey, welcome back to our Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader podcast series that we've got. We're looking at Envision today, which is one of the operating principles of what it means to be a good Catholic leader. We go first. We receive the vision that God wants to make manifest through us and through our leadership into the world. In order to do that, we have to discern well. So we've been exploring how you discern based on your unique design, and we're looking at that through the lens of temperaments. Big introduction there, okay? We're finally at our fourth temperament, the phlegmatic, today. And so all you phlegmatics, you're going to want to listen in.
Yeah. So stick around.
See you in the podcast. Welcome back. Aaron, why are you laughing so hard?
Do you really want me to share?
Go for it.
So...
The rest of the class would like to know why. What is so funny?
So, the last time we were recording, a booger flew out of your nose. A snot rocket. It wasn't snotty. It was a dry one.
Oh my gosh, this is so gross. Okay. So I distinctly remember something hitting my arm, being like, huh. You know, it was a moment of passion, right? I was breathing heavily and...
I mean, I noticed it before.
Note to self.
I noticed it in the beginning, like just kind of like it was a cliffhanger.
Oh, why? This is like important stuff. Like we have this 4K video camera now in front of us. Make sure you're looking at the camera, not at the monitor. By the way.
Well, listen, maybe you picked up on it because it's got high quality.
It's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, so we can do some forensic investigating.
I know. We're going to go find it in slow-mo. Okay. Why don't we just get into the discussion today on phlegmatics, okay? Hey, we're continuing on with our Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader series, and we are looking at these operating principles of what it means to be a good Catholic leader. We know that Catholic leaders go first. What's one of the first things they do? They receive the vision from God first, right? All leaders have a vision. A good Catholic leader, enough, Aaron. A good Catholic leader wants to bring on the vision, not that they generate, but the vision that they receive from the Lord, which means you have to have good, sound discernment in order to envision well. We're looking at how each one of the temperaments does well with this discernment, right?
Yeah.
So when you can envision, when you can discern well, you can envision well, and then you can lead people to good places, like bring God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven.
But there are also some defects in showing up in this discernment in each one of these steps. So we have the 4 steps of the discernment. Have you been with us for this series? And
if not, like and subscribe. Whack that bell so that you can get all of these episodes when they drop.
Yeah. But the 4 steps are offer, and surrender. So it's kind of like offertory at Mass, like you're bringing up your gifts, your desires, your fears, and you're leaving it there on the altar to give to the Lord. Mm-hmm. Listen, stop talking and quiet your mind and actually hear what the Lord is saying. Take action, really. I mean, a lot of people don't think that that's a part of discernment, but it is taking action. It really kind of can clarify what is working, what isn't.
It's a very human thing to do.
Yes. And examine. Examine is kind of reflecting back on the actions and the fruits of the actions and the prayer, and saying, do I want to continue to keep doing this? Right.
Yes.
Like, and Lord, like what, and you go to that examine with the Lord. Of course.
So if you don't know what your temperament is, check the show notes out. We actually have our free temperaments assessment there. All right. So that's going to be really helpful, especially, figuring out which one of these episodes that we've got, because we're covering all 4 temperaments.
And it's only like 10 minutes helpful. Long, too, to take the test.
It's real quick. Mm-hmm. Okay. But check that out. We even have a temperaments report that you can get in our shop. $10 gives you a lot of the stuff that we're going to be covering here today, all in one nice, tight report. So check that out. But let's get into it. Okay. So we've got... I think one important thing that's foundational here, we want to remind people that when we talk about discernment, it's not just an event that takes place or arriving at a decision. It's entering into a relationship. So if we think discernment as entering a relationship with the Lord, we can start talking about the defects to these steps of discernment as taking us out of relationship or being a barrier to relationship with the Lord. When we are in relationship with the Lord, it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. Our will can be trusted because it's no longer our will, it's our will in union with Christ's will.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so just a brief little a little segment about what the phlegmatic is. So in the Catholic theology, what a temperament is your inclinations and your reactions to outward stimuli.
You say Catholic theology, or just like the psychology behind it?
The
Is that what you're
psychology
saying?
behind
Okay,
it.
thank
But
you.
also I'm thinking of like Spiritual Theology, that book,
Got it.
where they actually give a definition of what the temperaments are. And the temperaments are like for a person, their inclinations and their reactions to outward stimuli, or to any type of, I guess, stimulating stimuli, right? So the phlegmatic, they are slow to react. They have a low intensity, and it doesn't last for very long.
Yes.
So, I mean, you might hear that and you're like, wow, what a very compliant and easy person to be around. And phlegmatics usually are.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're very diplomatic. People like them. They're just likable. You make it, and you're like, the most undramatic people you will ever meet.
Yes. Yes. Now, with that lack of, like, call it passion that's there can often be some kind of acquiescence or apathy or laziness that shows up with that. And again, every single one of these temperaments has a shadow side. Take the assessment to see how you show up, and receive everything that we're saying here with discernment. As we're painting with broad strokes, but see what picks up, what lands, shoe fits, wear it. Okay.
Yay.
So let's get into, we're going to walk through each one of these steps. We're going to talk about the defects, the mindsets that are there, some examples, and then an application to actually enter into more of the gifted side or avoid some of those defects that are a barrier to good discernment and receiving that vision to lead people towards. Okay.
Great. Offer.
Aaron, your secondary is phlegmatic, so I'm going to kind of be the interviewer for you here. But in this offertory stage where, again, we are taking the vision that we've got as much as what we've got for at the moment, and we're bringing it to the altar. We're laying it down. We're kind of taking our hands, walking away, and we're just giving it to the Lord to kind of do with it what He wills. Right? What's the defect that kind of the phlegmatic that might be standing in a way, a common defect?
Well, I mean, they don't really know. Like, they have a hard time kind of, saying what their desires are, or knowing what their desires are, like what I really want, you know? So there, it's kind of like a big deal if you have no bread to offer. If you have no bread or wine to offer, it's, you can't really do anything after that point. Or it's just, there's a lack of, so if we look at discernment as a relationship with the Lord, and that has to come first. So when we look at that, it's like a lack of 50% of the relationship. It's like that 50% is not showing up here.
Okay.
Right.
So there's a problem in the sense that it's not really, you're not entering into a dialogue. It's more of a monologue where you're just sitting there and you're receiving, but you're not actually entering into a dialogue with someone. I mean, I can certainly see how this is a barrier to a relationship.
Yeah.
Because you're not really even seeing yourself and allowing yourself to be seen, revealing yourself to the other person. That's essential to be a relationship.
And you don't know it. And here's the thing. The Lord knows all these things about you. And like, I feel like phlegmatics know that. They're like, yeah, but God already knows. He already knows what I want or whatever. But the whole reason why Jesus would ask people questions, it's not because He didn't know. He wanted them to find out what they wanted.
Yes.
And so I think what this step is an invitation for phlegmatics to figure out what they desire, what they truly desire.
Got it.
The core of it.
So what are some of the mindsets that we think might be behind showing up in this place where they're just not seeing their own desire, not acknowledging it, not presenting it?
I mean, for me, I can give you a couple examples from my own. It's like that's indulgent. That's like selfish for me.
Selfish. Yep.
For me to bring this up. Like, I don't want to make prayer all about me, like that kind of, like I feel bad. I feel like a burden. I feel like I don't want to make this request to God, not because I don't think He's good, but just because, I don't want to be a burden.
Don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. All right. So those are some of the mindsets. Like, do you have an example of where this has showed up in your life?
Yeah. So when we first started like doing all the coaching world, the big thing, and I remember resisting this a lot.
Doing the coaching world.
When we like entered into the coaching world as adults, you know, the big thing for me was bringing up, it was funny because I'm sanguine phlegmatic. So I have a lot of desires from that sanguine side. But then my phlegmatic side showed up and it was like, yeah, but I don't want to like really present any to him. So I'll just like, whatever keeps peace, you know? And there was this exercise that we were going through. It was a secular coaching exercise. And it was like, if you were a writer, if you were the author of your own life, like a screenplay writer or whatever of your own life, like what character would you play in the movie? All this. So it was kind of a cool exercise. But I was like, well, I'm not the writer of my life. Like the Lord is, right? Like he knows his plan. He knew it from the moment of my conception before it, it, right? I said, but I do believe I'm the actor. I'm the actress of this movie. I do believe that. And so I had this prayer moment where the Lord, I was really kind of sheepishly like knocking on the door of the screenplay writer's room and being like, can I just come in and make a couple suggestions? Maybe, you know, all like really kind of, and he was like, yes, you know, in this prayer, he was like, please, let's collaborate.
I've been waiting for this.
I've been waiting for this. Like, let's collaborate. Let's move together in relationship on this. And it was a moment of really of thinking, oh, my desires are useful in this relationship.
Or my desires are not even like my desires.
Oh, yeah.
Right? My desires are actually have been given to me by God. And yes, we always got to say that with this knowledge that we're in a fallen world and sin corrupts our desires and directs them towards things, and we are fallen, right? And so we need to hold our desires. That's why we're holding them in offertory with open hands, because there may be something mixed up in there that is causing us to desire something that is not really for our good.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, hey, this is something I want. I want the cookie, Lord. And he might be like, yeah, like, I know you want the cookie, but like I got a better cookie over here or something like that. But there's a desire to be in relationship, and these desires lived out properly draw us into deeper relationship with the Lord.
It almost like
by his design.
It almost like activates prayer.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like, well, what do you want?
Well,
you know, if you go into prayer and the Lord's like, Aaron, what do you want? Yeah,
there's no petition at that point. Like if you're leaving the petition out of prayer, you're kind of leaving out the prayer part of the prayer.
Yeah.
Like it's yes, there's different types of prayer. There's, you know, the praise, there's the thanksgiving, there is the
I mean, you're not really entering
the contrition in that.
Yeah, that petition part where you go, here's my heart. That's like that intimate place. And the interesting thing about Phlegmatics is they really desire sincere communion. Sincere being that intimate, like just like no, like we're not putting on airs. It's just we enter right in.
Yes.
And how cool to think that the Lord is inviting you into prayer like that.
Yes.
And it's not all this like, yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's if the desire is sincere communion, then ponder this. You know, rather than the Lord being somebody that is just outside of you and you are petitioning and asking the Lord, what if the Lord actually was in you and he was actually communicating to you through those desires that he wants you to present to him, that he wants you to know first so that you might present them to him and then receive the things that you desire in their purity, like the purity of what you truly desire, and then experience a deeper relationship with him. So it's just like, rather than the Lord is something I'm petitioning you outside of me, the Lord is actually inside of you already. And if you ignore your desires, you may be ignoring the very intimate, connected, close God that is already at work in you.
It made me think of that book by Ralph Martin, The Fulfillment of All Desires. And if the Lord is the fulfillment of all desires, which he is, but you are so out of touch with your own desires, like how will you ever know him? Like, wouldn't that block it from the very beginning?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yep.
affirm the good that you're seeking, like the good that, like, I think a lot of phlegmatics go into this kind of like, I don't want to be selfish. Like, that is a good, like, you don't want to be selfish, but chances are you probably will never be selfish if you're phlegmatic. Like, you will always be putting others before you. That's just a habit that you've kind of created in your life. And so, and the great thing about that is let's kind of balance that out a little bit.
Yeah, because it can be selfish to always think that, like, I can never put a burden on somebody else. That's also like saying I can never put the burden of love on somebody else, which is actually a gift to them. Like, when you give somebody an opportunity to serve you.
So it's almost like the withholding can be selfish. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, it's withholding of, like, the desires that you can invite them for a good. It's the withholding of a desire for something that's good that you can invite them to will with you, right? That is the foundation of a loving relationship.
Well, I mean, that's what you're doing in prayer with the Lord.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, give us a good sound object of desire that we can will together.
Yeah, yeah. So another thing is consider that your desires are an essential element to a sincere communion, to a sincere relationship. Like, they have to be there.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise you're just kind of, I don't know, we'll get into this in the next one.
You're not leaving anything on the altar.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
Let's go to the next one.
All right.
Listen. We stop talking, we quiet our minds. Well, I think the thing with the phlegmatic, the defect with this is not necessarily that they don't listen, is that all they do is listen. This is very much piggybacking off of this first element where it's like they're not bringing their desires, but they've forgotten that, right, prayer is a dialogue and not a monologue, right? So prayer is a relationship. It's not just like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. I mean, 100% be obedient. Yes. And the Lord wants to know who you are.
Yes.
Like, he wants you to know who you are.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's already created you. He knows that, but he wants you to show up in the relationship.
So it manifests itself as this hyper compliance. And you say that the phlegmatic is all they do is listen. They listen to everything but themselves, to their own stirrings. And so what I mean by that is, like, you may receive something from the Lord, but sometimes the Lord tells you things because he knows that they are going to stir something in you that you don't know of. Maybe a desire, maybe it's a poverty, maybe it's something where it's just like you don't really want to look at it. And he wants you to be attentive to those stirrings that are coming up in prayer.
Yeah.
If we're not listening, if we're dismissing those things, we're in a way we're not even we're not truly listening, right? I don't know what we're doing at that point, but this is how the Lord communicates through these stirrings. And there's been so many times in prayer where it's just like, I go down one path, or I read a reflection, it's even like an Alexio Divina, and something hits me, and it's just like, okay, what's going on there? Like, Lord, this is triggering something in me that, like, I don't really want to go that way. Or it's just like, okay, stuff, that's a selfish desire, or it's like awakening this something, or like, listen, that needs to be listened to.
The scripture that keeps coming to mind is, let your yes mean yes and your no mean no.
Okay. Tell me
and
more.
Like, what does yes meaning yes look like? Right? Is it like a full yes? Is it just kind of like, well, I just don't want to say no because I don't want to rock the boat?
Got it.
Right? And so you got to kind of understand why you're saying yes to the Lord, why you are listening to him. Because otherwise what happens is we kind of turn into people pleasers with the Lord. And the problem with people pleasers is they kind of show up as shells of a person, right? Like, have you ever had a friend who's kind of like a yes person, and and all they do is do the things you tell them to do, and they're just go, and then you pause and you're like, I don't even know this person. Like, I don't know anything about their life.
Yeah. Where's the relationship?
Yeah. There's just not there's not a balance of share and gift. And so, Yeah, I think we end up people pleasing the Lord. We kind of, in that case, when we start to people please the Lord, I know that sounds like a nice thing, but people pleasing is like doing it for the sake of peace, right? And, but the problem with people pleasing is it's usually this kind of, I'm not really letting my yes mean yes and my no mean no. There's a lack of honesty there.
Yeah, so lack of honesty, and there's a lack of real peace. So we tend to define, the people pleaser tends to define peace as like there's a lack of conflict between me and this other person. But meanwhile, there can be a whole world of conflict going on inside of them.
Yeah.
So you're trading a false peace for the true peace that comes with really, again, listening and acknowledging what's going on in your heart. And again, we can see where this people pleaser, hyper compliance sort of attitude
leads to resentment.
It leads to resentment, and that does not lead to a good relationship. And certainly, it can lead to resentment even towards the Lord. Yeah,
I think I remember. I notice even in my own journaling. Well, I would talk about a couple of the mindsets of this.
Sure.
Piece.
Yeah. What are some of the mindsets behind this people pleasing?
Well, it's kind of the same. I'll do whatever to keep the peace, right? I just want what God wants and, all that stuff.
Yes, that sounds pretty. I just want what God wants. I've said it before, and I hear it a lot of the times from the people, I just want what God wants.
And it's beautiful that you want what God wants, but also, are you doing that just to keep the peace? To keep that kind of shallow peace, but really inside you're filled with obligation and kind of like this messy version of obligation and resentment. Okay, so I knew that resentment was showing up in my own journaling because I would avoid going to a certain place of healing that I knew the Lord was calling me into, and I would just go there. I would go there, and then my journaling just got really bland. And and I just didn't even want to talk to the Lord about it anymore. I was like, you know what? And it turned into that resentment. And so for me, the indicator was kind of this stale, cold, just no feelings, no desire, no connection there. That was...
And it was just ignoring that the Lord was inviting you to a place. He was stirring something in you. And it was just not listening to that, not following that, stuffing that, not going down. Did you eventually go down that route?
I did, and received a lot of healing from it. But really, I found myself saying stuff like, Lord, I've always done what you want me to do, which is not true. But,
Sounds a little bit like the older son.
I've done... Right, exactly. I've done what you want me to do. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah. You think of it, and you say the older son, referring to the gospel of the prodigal son, right? Where everybody knows the son that goes and spends all the inheritance and goes and prostitutes and gambling and all that stuff. And then there's the older son who never leaves. He's hyper compliant, and he says I never asked anything for you. I never even asked for a goat to celebrate with my friends. I never presented a desire to you once, right? And the father is just everything that I have is yours. Just
all you got to do is ask.
You just got to ask.
Tell me,
please.
He's I didn't even know you wanted a goat.
Get the man a goat. Get him a goat. So again, there was no relationship, even though they were in proximity with one another, and he never left the grounds. He never actually was in a relationship with the father,
and
right? He couldn't enter the celebration,
and it added up to bitterness and resentment.
Yes.
So really, So you are affirm the good of peace, wanting compliance,
and wanting to do God's will.
Right.
Great.
But I think it's just kind of once again. Is that peace real? Is it a real type of peace? Or is your yes meaning yes and your no meaning no? And here's the thing, there's this thought that the Lord cannot handle when we go, I don't really want to do that right now, Lord. I promise you, if you were to say that honestly, from a place of honesty, Lord, I don't really want to do that right now. Now there's a dialogue opened up. Now you can actually go back and forth with him. And I bet you're going to end up doing it.
Yeah, I think again, the other parable where the father goes to the two sons and says, go out and work in the field. And the one says, yeah, I'll do it. But then he doesn't do it. And then the other one says, I don't want to do that. And then he thinks about it and he goes and he does it. Like, so there's at least give yourself an opportunity to be heard.
Yeah.
Right. And we find that with coaching. One of the most healing things that a coach can do for somebody is just hold the space and hear them. Right. Hold the space for yourself in this. And
the Lord wants to do it.
The Lord's holding the space for you. I mean, that's literally what he does for people. He did it for the woman at the well. Just holds a space for them to kind of eventually start to reveal what they're doing. And then once you just can be seen in your desire to not want to be compliant, and the Lord's just kind of like, okay. And it's like, all right, but like, change my heart. Like you can enter that dialogue and the Lord can do a lot more with it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And once again, you're in relationship, which is like the whole point of discernment. Like,
yes.
Literally in your mind, just write out, like type in a sentence in your mind, discernment equals relationship.
Yes. It's actually an essential element of a relationship or desire. Like sharing your desires also.
Yeah.
Is an essential element to the relationship, which leads to the discernment. If you leave your desires out, you will not be in relationship. You will not discern well. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. And then we move on to act. Let's act. What's one of the defects for the phlegmatic when it comes to acting?
Little to no action.
Okay. All right.
Usually because of fear. Specifically a fear of like exerting too much energy.
Okay.
Right?
All
exerting, yeah, like a fear of losing stability, losing consistency, but really losing energy that you think that maybe you should be hanging on to.
Yes. Okay. So there's a clinging to a certainty that of what's already known, a certain comfort level that's there. And this phlegmatics really enjoy that stability. And we can see how this is a problem because no action equals really no discernment. Like action is a huge part of discernment and bringing the clarity.
Bringing clarity, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm. But even like there's also there's no faith that's here. There's no stepping out in faith. There's no we're staying in it. We're letting fear dictate what we do, which of course is not good. But we're not bringing. This is a situation where we're not bringing that fear to the Lord and saying, okay, like I believe, help my unbelief. Like I don't really like you're going to need to show me the way here. It feels like I'm stepping into something that is more greater instability, but you're also like the faith is the thing that stabilizes me on my walk to heaven all the more. So, but it doesn't feel that way. So you can see how it's one of those things that can be an obstacle to stepping out in faith. Mm-hmm. Faith is what saves, right? Not faith alone, but like faith is like where we actually start to put our reliance on the Lord and enter into a relationship with Him. We must decrease, He must increase, and actually, like, is the most stable way to get to our ultimate goal, which is heaven, right? So otherwise, we put our faith in a false stability. Yeah.
So I mean, I think some mindsets that kind of keep this fear going is I'll just wait for proof of success. Or I'm afraid that I'll exert all of my energy and it won't work out. So, I think what's really helpful for the phlegmatics is to make a distinction between fear and prudence. Because sometimes we hold back and we're like, okay, prudence is right judgment to right action, right? So prudence takes on... Prudence feels a little bit different. It feels slower. It doesn't feel so urgent. Fear feels very urgent and like quick, or it's like a quick no, right? So in the case of somebody asking a phlegmatic to get up and do something, it's like a quick no, right? Because and I feel like they're afraid and self-protective of this exertion, right? Or of this lack of consistency or harmony.
Okay.
So they're protecting all of those things.
Okay. The movement is going to move to a place that takes them out of that consistency, that stability, that known.
Yes.
Right, that known place of comfort. Okay.
Yep.
And it moves them to a place of potential instability, There's going to be growth. There's going to be change that's there. It's going to rock the boat. Maybe it's going to impact other relationships, which I don't like to do as a phlegmatic. Right? I think of our friend Jim also when it comes to like how he approaches movies, watching a movie.
Oh yeah, we always ask him, we're like, why don't you watch movies? He's like, because I don't know if I'm going to like it until the end, and then I'll just have wasted all of my time. And it was like such a phlegmatic response. I've wasted my time and energy on this, on like
watching this movie,
investing in this movie, and like hated it.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bust.
Yeah, I'm like, that's so interesting. He's probably primarily.
What was that dumb movie that we watched? Something of Water. Like won Best Picture or something like that. I was like,
just as a rule of thumb to everybody out there that's listening, never watch any of those who like beyond. Was it 2000?
Yeah,
don't watch any of the award-winning movies.
Yeah, I was first disappointed when Shakespeare in Love beat out Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah, it's so dumb.
Best Picture. I was like,
dumb.
Oh no,
dumb. Anyway, okay. So, application here. Affirm the good that we're seeking. There's that stability. There's that consistency that you're seeking to kind of preserve. There's that exertion. You're seeking to preserve all of that stuff. And I really love kind of thinking about, all right, so you can pick one. You can exert all of your energy trying to protect the consistency, the harmony, the stability, the exertion of energy, like trying to protect everything, or you could exert energy doing something else.
Well, I think of it like the desire is still there, even if we're not acknowledging it, and the Lord's call is still there, so there's some momentum there, so we can exert all of our energy slamming on the brake, or we can kind of just enter into the current, right? Which is, there's something very gentle about just allowing the current, the Lord's will, to start to take us where it goes. We start to experience that what Christ says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light.
Oh.
Right? We start to experience that.
It's like honey in the ears of a phlegmatic.
Well, it's
easy and light.
Yes, it's actually the means to the least effort is in this compliant submission to the Lord, which comes by way of acknowledging your own desires here as well, right? But also acknowledging where like your desire for stability may be something of building a house upon a sand. Right, putting all of your stock into something that's not really going to deliver the stability that you're looking for. Right, the status quo. That's one of the errors there.
Yeah.
Cool. Finally, examine.
So, like, afraid to have realized that you've wasted your time and your energy.
Right, so this is the example, or this is the defect of the phlegmatic that prevents them from doing a proper examine. Right.
Yeah. So like when they come to it, like I mean, personally for me, I don't even like examining things, like taking the time and putting that energy in.
Yeah. You might find something that's broken that you got to fix and exert more energy towards.
That, or yeah, exactly. Or you find that you have wasted time and energy. So there's like there's a couple different things here.
Double whammy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are some of the mindset, or like why is that a problem to a relationship? Not entering into that examine because there's a fear of like finding things you got to work on.
Well, it's not even that fear. It's like, it's a fear that you have wasted.
Fear that you've wasted. Okay.
You've wasted energy. And it's like, well, it's just disappointing. You're like, see, now I just won't do it again. You know, like you kind of automatically go into that spin.
But there's a little bit of a presumption and a pride that's there too.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, how do we know that it didn't accomplish what the Lord wanted it to do? Right? So again, it's like when we look back and we say, I wasted my time, that might be it might be true, but it also might be a very arrogant thing to say versus like, okay, Lord, I can't see like the good that came from this. Show me the way. Like again, I can look and I can reflect with God in relationship and see things through his lens, or I can just stay with my own lens and the examine turns into a reason not to step out of the boat in the future. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. What are some of the mindsets, Aaron, that show up here?
So, like I have no energy or time. That's one of them. And then that was just a waste of my energy. I'm just not going to try anything else for a while. Like those are some of like
Knit a brick.
Yes, exactly. But
Knit a brick.
it's funny. I see this kind of show up, this protection of the mental energy. So I, even at our business meetings where like you and a couple other, like you guys like to think about things.
We like to solve problems.
Yes.
Aaron recently said, we can't have another restorative person on our team. And I was just like, why?
All right. So
like,
anyway,
we're like moving the ball forward.
Anyway. So is my ideation, by the way.
It is.
Okay.
It is. No, that is no shame on you. And that's
listen.
Anyways,
so
triggered something.
Yes. So anyway, like they will sit there, but you guys will go down rabbit holes. Like you will start solving problems that don't even exist. And I will go, why are we spending our mental energy here?
She's very good at giving us a pause. And it's just like, hold on. And this is like where the phlegmatic side is like such a gift, because it's just like, all right, wow,
Are we
enjoy...
overcomplicating this?
Yes.
And usually the answer is yes. We are overcomplicating it.
I'll give you that.
I mean, not all the time. We're usually actually very efficient with our time and our energy, but I have a very what's it called? Like radar for like overcomplicating things. And I'm like, no. This could be so much more simple. And because I just don't want to exert any more energy doing this. So anyway, I think one of the things, like one of the examples, well, I just shared it actually. I don't need to share the other one.
So what's an application then?
Consider the worst thing that could happen. When you the worst thing that could happen is you have a thought that you've wasted your time and energy, which is a choice. And that thought has been really helpful for me. Like, I don't have to think that I've wasted time and energy. I don't have to think that this is tiresome. I don't have to think that this is exerting a lot of energy, really. Like, I'm sure I could find facts for it, but I don't know. I don't think it's helpful. And this realization that to protect, when I'm trying to protect my energy out of fear that somebody's going to be taking it from me, or I end up exerting a lot of energy by trying to protect it. So okay. I think it's just even that like irony from my own life.
Is there like a resistance to even the pain of growth?
Not really, but that's from me because I'm sanguine first. And so I'm like, this is exciting. Like, let's grow. Let's go try something new. So I have this dual, like, inside of me. I have this, like, I could try something new because I love trying something new. This is what sanguines love. And then I have this, like, I'm afraid I'm going to have, wasted my energy or given it away. And it's, at the end of it, it wasn't smart. It wasn't like a great use of my energy.
Got it. And so like the very nature of an examination is looking for something that needs to be improved. And something that needs to be improved will take effort to improve it.
Yeah.
And so is that kind of the rub with the phlegmatic?
Yeah, and I think the phlegmatic who's detached from their desire, now they have no meaning or conviction, right?
Got it. Okay.
But the minute you have that conviction, you are diligent, you're assiduous as the phlegmatic. You're actually very disciplined.
Yeah, it sounds like that desire, like acknowledging the desire is a bit of a linchpin.
Oh, it's
for the phlegmatic.
100%. Yeah.
Because you guys got some conviction. Once you're convicted, you've got conviction.
Yeah,
right?
You were
very
steady.
Steadfast.
It's that stability, but it's like actually pointed, to another end there.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the 4 steps that we have. We just went through that with the phlegmatic of offer and then listen and then act and then examine. All right. This kind of wraps up our Envision series of this. We're going to be moving on through the rest of the operating principles and considering of what it means to be a good Catholic leader. We're going to be considering these things continuously through the temperaments, because it's not enough just to have the right mindset or the right kind of principles that we want to adhere to, we need to consider how God has designed us to, in a very unique, specific, unrepeatable way, embody these principles. So it's not just I'm becoming a leader, but I'm becoming the leader that I uniquely am and leading as I uniquely would according to God's unique design for me. So, and we all got one, which is cool.
Yeah. So stick around. We're going to continue on with this leadership series. And next week, we're going to be talking about owning. Owning your stuff. That is the next operating principle. You're going to want to stick around for this.
Cool.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.